So, if you wake up with a dry mouth, you might think the fix is simple, just drink more water. But the research shows there are other, often overlooked reasons this happens, and some surprising ways to stop it. Now, as a dentist, I see the effects of a dry mouth every day, from cavities, gum inflammation, to bad breath. So, in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 evidence based ways to stop waking up with a dry mouth so you can protect both your sleep and your oral health. And tip number 1 is one of the most overlooked causes of a dry mouth at night, and it isn't your mouth at all. It's the air around you. So, the air in your bedroom is dry, especially in the winter or if you're sleeping with the heating on. Basically, what happens is the moisture evaporates from your mouth much faster, and that's why you might often wake up with a cracked lip or a sticky tongue or even a sore throat. And a simple solution to this is to add a little humidity back into your room. So a bedside humidifier works really well, but even something as simple as moving your bed away from a heater or an air vent can help. And by keeping the air a little more balanced, you basically reduce how quickly your mouth dries out, and you give your saliva a fighting chance to protect your teeth while you sleep. And the second tip is something most people never really think about, and it's protecting your teeth overnight. See, here's the problem. Your saliva isn't just moisture sitting in your mouth. It's constantly doing 3 important jobs at the same time. It washes away food and bacteria. Second thing is it neutralizes acids that build up after eating. And it also carries important minerals like calcium and phosphate that actually help repair enamel. So when your mouth dries out all night, all of that stops. The balance shifts and the acids stay longer, bacteria multiply, and your teeth are left exposed for hours. And this is why people with a chronic dry mouth often see cavities forming along the gum line or in spots that don't usually decay, even if you're not eating loads of sweets. And here's the thing, it's not just the candy that causes the cavities, it's the acid environment. And without the saliva there to protect you, your enamel wears down much faster. And the fix isn't just to make your mouth feel wet, it's to give your teeth some backup protection while your saliva is offline. And one really practical step I see here that helps is brushing with a fluoride-based toothpaste right before bed and not rinsing it away. So basically, make sure you're leaving a thin layer on your teeth because the fluoride helps bind to the enamel and make it more resistant to the acid attacks. And think of it like putting a clear protective coat on your teeth at night. And if dry mouth is something you deal with regularly, whether it's from certain medications, allergies, or just mouth breathing, saliva substitutes or gels can make a big difference here. They don't fix the cause, but they help replace some of the saliva's most protective functions and keep the tissues more comfortable until you address the root problem. And tip number 3 is to support nasal breathing at night. And this one's important because one of the biggest reasons why people wake up with a dry mouth is because they're breathing through it while they're asleep. And here's why this matters. Your nose isn't just a hole for air. It's designed to prepare every breath before it reaches your lungs. And the nasal passages filter out particles, warm the air, and more importantly, they add moisture. Your nose even produces a gas called nitric oxide, which helps open up blood vessels and make oxygen transfer more efficient. So when you switch to mouth breathing, you lose all of that. And the air goes straight in, cold and dry, and the moisture evaporates quickly from your mouth. The saliva dries up and the tissues become more irritated and your sleep becomes less stable because your airway is more likely to narrow. And that's why people who mouth breathe often wake up with that sticky tongue or sore throat feeling. So, what can you do about this? A simple step is to make nasal breathing easier before bed. And a saline rinse here can help clear congestion, and over the counter nasal strips can gently open the passages. Again, these aren't cures, but they're more likely to make your body default to nasal breathing, and that alone reduces dry mouth and support more restorative sleep. And moving on to the fourth tip, and this is hydration. And it's not just about how much water you drink, but it's about when and how you do it. So here's a problem I see. A lot of people notice a dry mouth at night and think the solution is to drink a big glass of water right before bed. And this issue often backfires because you might quench the dryness for a few minutes, but you're also more likely to wake up in the middle of the night and use the bathroom. And every time you wake up like that, your deep sleep gets interrupted. And the smarter approach here is to think about hydration as something you manage throughout the day and not just at bedtime. Now, saliva is 99% water, so if you're underhydrated all day, your mouth simply doesn't have the resources to keep up overnight, and sipping water constantly instead of chugging it in large amounts at once, that helps keep your body's fluid balance stable and saliva production steady. Now, there are a couple of practical tweaks that help make a difference. For example, if you're drinking coffee or alcohol, both of these dehydrate the body and reduce saliva flow. And cutting back in the evening, or at least balancing them with extra water earlier in the day, helps reduce that drying effect. So instead of thinking, I'll just fix my dry mouth with water at night, try setting yourself up earlier in the day. It helps make your saliva more effective, it keeps your enamel safer, and it won't be waking you up at 3 a.m. with a dry mouth and a broken sleep. And the fifth tip is to know when a dry mouth is more than just an inconvenience. For example, some people might be waking up thirsty or with a sticky tongue, and if that's occasional, it can be harmless. But if it happens night after night, especially if it comes with other symptoms, that's when it could be pointing to something bigger. Here's what to watch out for: loud snoring or someone noticing you stop breathing at night, waking up unrefreshed even after 7 to 8 hours of sleep in bed, morning headaches or sore throat, or constant cavities and gum problems, even if you take care of your teeth. All of these could be signs that dry mouth is linked to unstable breathing during sleep, sometimes even sleep apnea. And now, not everyone with a dry mouth has sleep apnea, but the two often overlap. And from a dental perspective, this is important because the mouth often gives us the earliest visible clues that your sleep isn't working the way it should. And if that sounds familiar, it's worth getting it checked, whether by a GP, primary care doctor, a sleep physician, or even just flagging it to your dentist so they can look deeper. And the earlier you spot it, the easier it is to do something about. So the key here isn't just about comfort. A dry mouth can sometimes be your body's way of telling you that your sleep and your health deserve a closer look. And before we wrap up, let me quickly answer some of the most common questions I hear about dry mouth. And one common question I get is, does chewing gum really help with a dry mouth, or is it just a quick fix? And this is a common question. So yes, chewing gum can actually help, but not for the reason most people think. And it's not about the gum itself, it's about the chewing action. So every time you chew, your salivary glands are stimulated to release more saliva. And when you chew with a sugar-free gum, especially something that contains xylitol, you're more likely to get double the benefit because xylitol doesn't feed the cavity-causing bacteria and helps shift the bacteria towards mouth protection. Now, gum isn't a cure. If you're on certain medications or you breathe through your mouth at night, gum won't solve the root cause. But during the day, chewing gum is one of the simplest ways to help keep saliva flowing and prevent that dry, sticky feeling building up before bedtime. And the second question is, what if my dry mouth started after I began a new medication? And this is something that's quite common. So there are hundreds of medications that list dry mouth as a side effect. For example, common antihistamines for allergies, to antidepressants, to blood pressure tablets. And what's happening here isn't that the drug dries out your mouth directly, it changes how your nervous system signals the salivary glands. So they don't produce as much. And if you notice that your dry mouth began around the same time you have a new prescription or you started a new medication, mention it to your doctor or your dentist. Sometimes there are alternatives with fewer side effects or small adjustments in timing that can help. And in the meantime, you can look at saliva substitutes, gels, or simply chewing sugar-free gum that can reduce the impact until the underlying cause is addressed. And question number three is, isn't dry mouth the same as being dehydrated? And this is probably the most common misconception. Hydration and dry mouth overlap, but they're not the same thing. You could be drinking 2 liters of water in a day, but still wake up with a dry mouth at night. And the reason is because saliva isn't just water, it's a mixture of enzymes, proteins, and minerals that your body produces. So when your glands slow down, whether that's for mouth breathing, medication, or age, water alone doesn't replace those protective functions. And that's why simply drinking more water doesn't fix the problem in the long run. So you have to support the conditions that allow saliva to flow normally, things like nasal breathing, balanced hydration, and avoid drying habits before bed. So these were the 5 simple but effective ways to stop waking up with a dry mouth. I hope you learned something useful and can put it into practice tonight. And thank you for watching.